Ryobi. Well, of course, you've all heard of the brand Ryobi. You know, they're one of the house brands at Home Depot. Now, this video has kind of been a while in the making. I've been doing a lot of research on Ryobi, and you know, if you've ever heard of anybody talk about Ryobi, you're going to hear people say, "Oh, Ryobi, you know, it's that junk brand. Ryobi's terrible." Ryobi's always been kind of the butt of a lot of jokes. You know, you've always heard the joke, you know, if it's in a Ryobi case or Ryobi bag, no one's going to steal it, as if, you know, Ryobi is this worthless tool brand. So anyways, I did some research on, you know, Ryobi and kind of figuring out, you know, where that hate kind of came from exactly on the Ryobi brand. Now, there are other brands out there, you know, like Harbor Freight, who does get some hate, of course, but they don't get as much hate as Ryobi does. It seems like all the jokes are always about Ryobi a lot of the time. Now, there are other brands, you know, that are similar to Ryobi when it comes to quality and kind of the level they put themselves at. Brands like Craftsman, you know, Porter Cable, a few other brands you might find here and there, but nothing really gains that hate like Ryobi does. And when I say hate, I kind of mean, you know, that dislike for Ryobi, kind of the jokes of Ryobi, and the overall, you know, viewpoint of Ryobi as a lower end brand. Now, I will say Ryobi they're well known in the Home Depot as, you know, that entry-level brand. There's really no getting around that. However, they've done a few things to really, you know, take their quality up over the number of years. A lot of people have said, you know, the stuff has definitely improved. There is some of that HP stuff now, which they're aiming for that, you know, pro-grade, prosumer kind of line. However, though, that really hasn't helped the brand, and in a way, it seems more have hurt the brand than anything. Now, what I mean by hurt the brand while they're trying to improve their quality? Well, if you take other brands, for example, let's take a perfect brand here. Let's take Hart Tools. Now, Hart Tools is made by the same exact company that makes Ryobi. In fact, a lot of Hart Tools are also exactly the same as Ryobi tools. Now, Hart Tools are sold at Walmart, not Home Depot. And if you look at the branding alone in those two brands, look at Hart Tools. Hart is aiming for that DIYer, you know, that occasional weekend warrior type of person. While when we look at Ryobi, Ryobi is taking aim at the job site. Looking at even some of their current ads right now, they're on, you know, current construction job sites. They're really aiming for that, you know, construction worker of, you know, just pro-grade tools. However, though, in some recent reviews, and I would say the best one that I've seen that really illustrates this is going to be from Workshop Addict, where he got some of the new HP tools in, I think this was like a year or two ago, and in his video, he showed off a few of them, and he actually had a few of them smoking by the end of the video. And I'm talking, these are brand new, out-of-the-box tools that he was able to just get, you know, totally smoking, almost on fire, I would say, on some of these tools, and they started failing him pretty much on his first job there. Now, I'm not saying Ryobi tools are really bad in any way, but I think what we can kind of gain from, you know, looking into what Ryobi's trying to do with how some of their marketing, that they're trying to push themselves as this pro brand, while they might not have the, you know, quality there to really back it up. And that's what we might be seeing with a lot of these jokes. You know, Ryobi is, you know, it's a cheaper brand, it's entry level. We also have brands like Rigid, who are right there in the middle. I would say like a brand like Metabo HPT is right there in the middle line of a brand there. But we've got brands like Milwaukee who are, you know, pushing that heavy duty pro grade, and they do an excellent job at that. When it's hard to really compare a brand like Ryobi to Milwaukee when they're really aiming for different types of consumers, whether or not they want to on marketing, but those two types of tools are definitely different qualities. Now, if we look at, you know, good, better, best when it comes to power tools, that's something very well known at Harbor Freight. If we look at Home Depot, Ryobi's gonna be the good, Rigid will be the better, and Milwaukee will be the best. Can you really, you know, have tools in that good line compare up against that best line? Well, I think you could, but I think overall the image of that brand is going to be a little bit flawed there. Now, I did a video recently on, you know, some of the worst tools that I've ever used from some brands, and a few people actually made a point. They said they, you know, definitely agreed when I said that some of the DeWalt tools, like the homeowner grade tools, the very, very low end tools there, definitely hurt the brand more than they help the brand. And what I mean by that is, you know, they kind of hit more of a price point and they're hitting quality. And some people, when they just, you know, jump into a brand, you kind of assume that, you know, most brand items are going to be of similar quality. Well, unfortunately, with power tools, that's not true at all. You can have very low-end tools from, say, like a brand like DeWalt that'll be nowhere near the quality of their top-tier XR tools. It'll be so far different. It's almost like in two entirely different brands. So if you gave someone, Milwaukee fuel tools, and you gave another person who was doing the exact same job, basically the lowest end DeWalt tools, I don't think the person who had those DeWalt tools is going to like DeWalt at the end of that job, and the people who gave the Milwaukee fuel tools are probably going to love those tools. So what I'm getting at is exactly when it comes to Ryobi tools is that they're kind of well known as, the budget brand. They have some tools that work fantastic, but overall you pick up almost any Ryobi power tool and you're not necessarily going to have a very high quality experience with it. Now I'm saying, if you go into some of the more HP quality tools, you might have more of a mid-range experience with that. But is it going to be a job site level tool? Well, it's kind of up to you to decide if you want to think about it. But, if you ask me when it comes to some of that stuff, job site level, just from the reviews, if we just look at purely the reviews alone, I don't think they're up to par yet for the job site. Now, I'm sure people are going to disagree with that. I'm sure some of the comments are going to say, oh, they're definitely job site level. And that's fine, of course, when it comes to those tools. But what we're getting at here is, why the hate, why the dislike for Ryobi tools seems stronger than a lot of other brands that people just don't like Ryobi tools. And, when it comes to, if we look at all the facts with Ryobi, I think it really boils down to Ryobi has been pushing and marketing the Ryobi line at, more tradesmen, more professionals. And a lot of these guys, when you come from brands like upper end DeWalt, Milwaukee, Makita, brands like that, and you pick up a Ryobi tool, the quality isn't really up to par with those brands. Now, I'm not saying that tool's not going to get the job done, but when you compare it to, a higher end tool, it's just not there. Just that brand image alone is going to be an issue. So looking at all the facts, we look at some of that Ryobi hate there, it's really, I think if Ryobi pulled back from their marketing and said, hey, we're going to aim for, just, budget friendly, weekend warrior, and maybe go to a little bit of prosumer, I think they'd pull back a lot of that, dislike, disdain for the brand. And not saying that I don't buy Ryobi tools. I own a few Ryobi tools, but I have had issues with Ryobi tools in the past. I did buy just an 18 volt edger, and on the second use I used that thing, it already started smoking and died. So unfortunately, that's a big joke with Ryobi, and they use a lot of brush tools, and that can cause, when those tools go bad, they start smoking, and it's a very noticeable, very, you could say, video worthy thing to record when those tools go bad. And brushless tools, not saying they don't smoke too, but brushless motors are a lot more durable and long-lasting than brush motors. Yeah, they're not serviceable, of course, like a brush tool. But of course, when you have a tool that can fail catastrophically like that you bought, at a store, and it's not necessarily like a super cheap tool, that can cause, a little bit of videos going out there saying, hey, look at this Ryobi tool failing. They're not necessarily going to see from brands like Makita, DeWalt, or Milwaukee. It's just something else you're going to see different with Ryobi there. And it's not necessarily Ryobi's fault. They're trying to hit a price point with those tools. Of course, they're going to use cheaper parts here and there. However, though, at the end of the day, it's just one of those things where when it comes to the Ryobi brand, it's maybe them pushing themselves a little bit too high. Not necessarily they shouldn't, try to improve their quality while keeping the price low. They definitely should. That's a good thing. But it's the people that they're pushing those tools to. If you've got a lot of mechanics, who just love, Snap-on, Mac tools, and a lot of my mechanic friends that I know, they won't touch anything else but any other brand, and they make fun of Harbor Freight, because it breaks. Now, Harbor Freight, if they pull their image up, pull the quality up, can they attract some of those guys? Maybe. But at the end of the day, a lot of tradesmen, like people that are in the professional trades, are used to their brands they like. It's hard to get those guys to change. Just like, when it comes to pickup trucks, Chevy, Ram, Ford, it's hard for brands like, Toyota and Nissan to kind of get into those areas of trucks when, maybe it could be a good product, it could not be a good product. Most people don't even bother trying. They're just going to go with what their tried and true brands are. So hope this kind of summarizes up, guys, kind of some of the Ryobi hate out there and kind of where it comes from exactly. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend and stay safe out there.